Recording.
All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going? You are here in a very special place. You couldn't be in a better place today, really. We are doing a How to Become Money Workbook intro hangout, and we're going to just go for about 30 minutes. And this class is an introduction to a class that I am facilitating October 4th for 6 weeks. And the amazing comedian Katie Rubin is hosting. And we just wanted to get together and talk a little bit about what this book does, because it's unbelievable what this book does. And I like talking to Katie, so that's fun.
Yeah.
Hey, Katie.
Who doesn't?
That is the question.
Hi, Brian Holland. Welcome. It's lovely to see you. I can't see everyone, but it's fun to see some familiar faces I haven't seen in a while.
Hello.
Hi, Brian Holland.
So, yeah, this is super exciting. Do you want to say some stuff, or do you want me to say some stuff? How do you want to start?
Say some stuff.
Okay. So I have a couple friend/clients who I do sessions with here in the Bay Area who casually said to me, like, we're going to go through that money workbook thing. And I was like, I would like to go through that money workbook thing again as well. I've been through it now. I think this will be my fourth time. I think it's 3 or 4. And what came to me right away was I remembered how awesome it was having gone through the workbook my third time with Julia, I think Blossom Benedict, and Megan Hill, and a few other Access facilitators who really have been around a while and really know this material, or I don't know if know is the right word, but have been through this material in a way that's really changed them and changed their relationship with money in an esoteric, energetic way. And so I just immediately texted Julia and asked her if she'd be willing to really, lead this charge, because Julia, if you don't know, has done the workbook 27 times, I think is the number.
Yep.
And it's changed her entire relationship with money. And I don't know about anyone else, but I know something that really excites me about this workbook, and what I love about the Access tools is how we're not, all of us have probably been to a bunch of money workshops about, like, keep your numbers straight and show up at places and network and shake your hands. And there are real world external actions that need to be taken in this reality to have money happen. However, as we all also know or learning through being with Access and other systems we may have studied, there's an energetic way of being in relation to money that really can change, as Julia has said to me, like, all that other stuff just shows up with ease externally when the internal being that we're being is being the vibration of money, as it were. And so I'm excited about what this workbook does for people to get us to that energetic place. And so I'm excited and curious to see what we can create here, and to have Julia at the helm, where I feel so lucky.
Yeah, I read this book 4 years ago, and it changed. I was actually working at a golf course at the time, and I made like quite a large sum of money more that year than I had the year before. I would like walk home with like $500 stuffed into my pocket in cash from tips and stuff like that. And I actually at the time did not chalk it up to the workbook at all. I chalked it up to Access because I'd started doing Access, but I would I worked on the golf course. And so I would like take my golf cart out and serve everyone drinks on the golf course. And I would bring my workbook with me. And when I would go hide my cart in the bush and I would read my workbook while I was on the job. Yeah. And now fast forward 4 or 5 years later, I've actually have been a facilitator of Access pretty much since that time. Right after that summer, I went balls to the walls and have been facilitating ever since as a CF. And I have facilitated this class. I've probably done like 3 or 4 or 5 versions of this class, and I've loved it because I do it in a way that we actually like read through the book word for word, because so many humanoids, I used to be naive and discuss the book and then give people homework and expect they were going to do it. And then I realized I was dealing with humanoids and that I was completely delusional. And so we actually read through the book, but then the awesome thing is the wave and the movement of having everybody behind you while you read the book, it really, really changes things. And it makes it a lot easier for you to just keep continuing with the book. And if you want success stories for the book, Katie Rubin and I already did a little video chat about the book and all of the success that we've had. I mean, having read it 27 times has really created a different relationship with money that I didn't know was possible. And, it's really created this place where I'm like I know that I will always be able to create money. Like, it's not something outside of me. I have become money, and I'm still becoming more money. And the willingness to, there's something that's written on the pages, however it's written, whatever it is almost like it's not a hypnosis at all, but it's almost like, it's like as you read it, you become money. And it was channeled in New York City in 1996 by Gary Douglas. And what is said, by reading it over and over and over, you actually become it. And Gary Douglas says that, he says, if you come to me with a money problem and you haven't read the money workbook, you're crazy. Go home and read the money workbook. And he said, if you read the money workbook, if you read the money workbook every 2 weeks for 6 months, it's only 89 pages. It does not take very long to get through. If you do it every 2 weeks for 6 months, you will never have another problem with money again. And I really have known that to be true. Is everything in my financial world perfect? No. Am I a millionaire? No. Have I created a huge amount of money and a huge life and a huge living by reading the book? Yes. And it's just really fun to go through, and it's fun to go through with other people, because then we get to it's wow, I just got $1,000 tip, or I just got this, or I just created this, or, we create all these amazing things, and it's really, really neat to do it together and to see what everybody creates. But not just that, it's also just having that energy with you and having that energetic contribution of everybody else choosing for them really, really creates something different. So I love reading the book. Obviously, I've dedicated the last 5 years of my life. I've read it 27 times.
Hey, Julia, I have a question for you. So what would you be willing to talk a little bit about some of the energetic changes that have happened for you, and personal inner shifts that have occurred as a result of going through the book? I mean, we all know that more money has shown up with ease. I know that anyway, and now everyone knows that. And I'm curious to know if you could speak a little bit to what else has changed or opened for you in this process.
Yeah. Well, everything. I mean, it's opened me up, and it's are all of these things directly correlated to the money workbook?
Right.
Yes. And I've also I use the tools of access consciousness like crazy. And and not in a religious way, but I'm wow, chose to ask that question. This showed up. That's amazing. And then I chose to ask this question, and this showed up. That's amazing. So it's I just, by having so much success with using the tools for year after year after year, it's changed everything. But the money workbook is a huge part. And if you're ever where do I start with access, or what do I do? It's the money workbook has no prerequisites. You don't have to have taken bars to take the class. You don't have to really know anything even about access. There's no clearing statement in the workbook. It's this really, really, it's completely introductory and completely advanced. And I've read the book so many times, and then Gary Douglas came out with the Advanced How to Become Money Workbook, and I facilitate that class as well. And so I'm getting to your point, Katie. But I actually stopped reading the original workbook because I started doing and studying the advanced workbook really strongly. And there was a dip in my finances. And I was Gary, what's going on? Like, I'm doing the advanced workbook all the time. I'm facilitating it. I'm working through it all the time. I'm asking questions. And he's like, you have to keep reading the workbook, the original, because keeping that energy in your life changes things. It creates. And so that's kind of made me be like, wow, like this is still a very, very advanced thing. And it's like, it keeps things up and it keeps things moving forward. So for me, I mean, it's like anything, I mean, what does the workbook change for me in an energetic way? Everything. Like we were talking on our last hangout, Katie, about like how I've spent so much time taking such huge leaps, like just based on lightness. Like being that energy of money has given me this ability to know that I can always create, whether it's money or anything else. And it's like reading the workbook, I've taken jump after jump after jump after what is actually light. And is there anybody here who doesn't know the tools of light and heavy in Access? You can put it in your hand or put in the button in the chat if you don't know it. And I can explain it, but if I don't see any hands. Okay, so everybody knows light and heavy. So I basically have, like, just by the energy that the book has been in my life, it's like it's allowed me to take jump after jump after jump. And I moved across the country when I was $33,000 in debt so that I could live in this beautiful $3,000 apartment. And it was like the money showed up. I went from $3,000 to $10,000 a month. I paid off all that debt within like 6 months while traveling the world and doing everything I wanted to do. Oops. Diane, can you mute that person? Thanks. I don't know. It just created something really, really beautiful. And now I'm, living in South Carolina, and I have 3 new stepkids, and I've just gotten married. And it's something that I always, always, always wanted, but it was like I wanted it so bad that I wasn't actually able to have it because I was like contracted around it and obsessed with it. And one thing that the money workbook does with money and with, it's going to change that in money. It's going to expand the way that you are around money, but it's also going to expand the way that you are in every other area of your life so that you're not like, I must have it. Because you can't have anything when you're that contracted around it. So when you actually create space around things, you can have them. And with Gary Douglas, he said to me, he's like you're Cinderella. You spend your life waiting for your prince to come. And finally he was like, you need to go sleep around. You need to go start having fun. Like, this is not going to work. And he said he kind of manipulated me in different ways. And so I did. I started playing the field and having an awesome time. And at one point I was like, I love my life. I am fine being single for the rest of my life. And then Prince Charming rode in on his white horse, and I have a relationship that I never could have imagined. So, I mean, it's like that, the way that the money workbook gives you this space and like this control over your future, it has done that in every area. So there's just this really like this big energetic, like level, I guess, of confidence that you could say that I have of like, it's going to be created. And if I don't know how, I'll find a way.
Right. One thing, I mean, I don't want to blow by the words you just said, because I think it's so key what you just said, the thing about, because you said if you have space around something and you're not contracted around it, AKA wanting and needing and clinging, then you can have that thing. And then you said, and then you can have control. And it's that funny paradox of energy work and consciousness work of like, we think we're going to get control by clamping down, thinking more, tightening the body, focusing, work harder, get that job, when really it's the opposite. It's becoming the space of infinite possibility and then just lightly asking for stuff.
Exactly.
It's just that gentle. But I think that paradigm shift of moving into that space and learning to trust that you can create from that space is such a radical shift. Like you were like, yeah, I just became light, and then you can have stuff that you don't clamp around. And in my universe, I'm like, I'm right in the middle of that transition into,
Right.
into like really trusting that you can create from space. Because I don't know about anyone else on the call, but I know for myself, certain kind of trauma that I experienced in childhood and like certain kind of like things I chose to create in my adult life, I have built a life around clamping down and figuring it out and managing stuff and being smart and being tight. And as I expand more and more and become this space of lightness, it is uncomfortable sometimes to trust. Like, right, I'll give you an example. Like right now, I've been asking questions about possibly moving to Marin, which is a different part of the Bay Area. I live in Oakland right now, and it's really lovely here, and I have this beautiful apartment that's the nicest place I've ever lived. And something in my being is like, how could it get any nicer than this? Like, I'm getting that I want more space, and I want more beauty, and I require it, actually, to be the teacher and facilitator I am, and to be the person I really be, or whatever. So I've been asking, like, what will my life be like, this access question we all know, in 5 years if I move to Marin right away? And it's the lightest feeling ever. Now, my life doesn't make any sense with that. I got friends in this area. I've just moved in 6 months ago. It's beautiful here. My landlords are good friends of mine. I have a cat that I share with the people who live here, like, which is like awesome, because then if I have to travel, they take care of the cat. Like, there's all these reasons to stay, right, that are very reasonable. But my being is very clear with me. It's light for me. Like, I get that my future will be the future I'm actually looking to create if and when I choose to take this leap. So I think if you want to talk to us, Julia, about any examples of, and I have some examples from my own life as well, of where you've gotten the awareness of a lightness and taken action on it and seen positive results, I really feel like that's useful stuff for people to hear about.
Well, over the past few years, I've realized how dangerous it is to be choiceless. Like, if I have made enough choices that have been crazy and worked out, and I have made enough choices where I have not, or I haven't chosen, and everything falls to shit. So it's like I've seen how it works time and time and time again, and like eventually you're like, wow, I actually can't not choose. Because the universe will be like, wow, you want to be contracted? You don't want to choose? Okay, let me show you how this looks. It's like, But, there's two types of control. There's micromanaging.
I want you to come back at some point and give us an example of that, if you can, at some point, of like where you didn't choose and what you mean by that and what that looks like. If you're able.
That's a good question. I'd have to think. I can't really think of anything on the spot.
Okay. Let's do the thing you're about to do.
I'll think about it in the back while I talk about this. But
micromanaging.
Well, no, that's not a very good example. Okay, yeah. So anyways, there's two types of control. So it's like, and in the money workbook, at the beginning, there's these 5 mantras, and it's I am money, I am power, I am awareness, I am creativity, and I am control. And it's like, you actually want to be control. But right now we're trying to do control rather than be control. There's a difference between doing control and being control. When you're being control, you are the boss of this whole reality, and you have the tools to manipulate and change everything around you so that it works for you. And when you are like doing micromanaging this reality control, and you're being small and you're being the employee rather than the employer of this reality, it's like you're at the effect of everything, and you're worried about if you're going to make ends meet at the end of the month. And you have this need to choose the smaller choice and to be safe, but you try to control everybody around you as though that's going to get you where you want to go, rather than actually choosing. And choosing to expand is as simple as in the moment being like, okay, I feel really contracted right now. I'm actually going to expand. And you just choose to expand. You expand your energy to the size of the room, and then expand your energy beyond the size of the room and into the clouds, and you actually just become more. It's just a choice. And it's like, but people think that they have to, and actually there are classes I have done on energy pulls. Like I actually did a 12-month club called the Magic Club, and I'm thinking about doing it again because I'm getting all these people going, I miss the Magic Club. But it was this club that was 12 months, and it was designed to get you to actually learn how to expand your energy and pull energy and be greater than you were the day before. So it's like by asking questions to be more, and by reading the book, by using the tools of access, you actually stop being the micromanaging control, and you actually start to become the one who is the employer of this reality and who knows they can control everything around them. Like there's so many points in my life where it's like I knew I could have chosen more and I didn't. And there were so many points in my life where I knew I could have chosen more and I did. I guess an example of, it's hard to say. It's like there is also the thing of like any choice you make is not a wrong choice because it's always going to lead to more awareness. It's really actually hard for me to think of something I chose that really didn't work out, because everything that I've chosen, as long as I've chosen, even if it's heavy, as long as I wasn't like, and you actually don't choose, that's when disasters get created. Like a small example that I can think of would be like, I have a class coming up and I haven't chosen the date to reschedule it to because something came up. I couldn't go that weekend. And I can feel how the class is contracting based on me being choiceless around it. So it's like that energy. But if I make any choice, there is no wrong choice. I could choose to do the class tomorrow. I could choose to do the class whenever. And it's like something will still get created, even if it's heavy. It might be really heavy to do it tomorrow, but if I choose that, it will actually still give me more awareness and it will create the future.
Yeah.
That's
super useful. I mean, it comes back to a different class you did also recently about, for me anyway, about that was called the Committing to Your Life class.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, what I'm hearing you say is that you're talking about kind of commitment. Like you commit to a date and that's when the class is, and you've therefore chosen a date, you've committed. And by committing, some doors start to open, whether they're heavy doors or light doors. And then you go, maybe you have the chance to go, oh, those doors are kind of heavy. And then you can re-choose. Or you go, oh, those doors are flying open. So I keep going through them now. But if you choose no doors, like I'll just straight up own up and say, I often choose no doors, or I'll choose all the doors. I'll be like, the class is happening on this day or this day or this day or that day. And, and you know, it can be in any space that we want, but it's not that I never lock it down, but I go through a period of time where I'm trying to choose the right time, or I'm trying to get it right, or I don't even know sometimes. I'm just not committing. And in that space, now that you say that, I now get exactly why there's a weird, blustery, vague energy that gets created, that where the universe, because you know how Gary says, and many systems, frankly, teach this, that like, when you ask a specific question of the universe or make a choice, the universe starts to conspire. The quantum entanglement. Start to give you the thing. But if you're constantly going this one or maybe that or maybe this or maybe that or maybe that, it's like, I'll just hang out here until you make a choice, and then I'll
And like for me, the choice actually to commit to reading the money workbook over and over and over has created so much for me. Like not just money, but it's just created this wave in my life. Like there are people who, I mean, I like years ago, in my living room would sit in Brandon, Manitoba, this small farming community in rural Canada. And I invited all of these women to come over to my house, and I would just read them the money workbook page by page. And I put those classes up on YouTube. And like people find me from those classes. They have thousands and thousands and thousands of views. You know, somebody flew into my foundation years ago, found my money workbook class on, you know, so it was like just that choice to commit to doing it. I was like, I remember at the time, I'm like, well, how much do I charge? And what do I do? And how do I do this? And what date? And it was like, okay, fine. I chose to charge nothing. If I was going back and doing it again, would I charge nothing? Definitely not. But it was like I just chose these things, and it created this whole future. And there's nothing wrong with the future. There was lighter choices in that, but it was still a choice. And the thing that will really destroy you, that's much worse than a heavy choice, is no choice.
You know, I love that. Thank you for saying that. Well, I'd like to give a little an example in my own life, just for people right now. And I feel like almost everyone on this call could give an example or two of where this has happened for them. But like, you know, something that comes to mind when you're talking is like, I have twice in my life been given a car, like two separate people on the planet seemingly out of nowhere handed me a brand new car that I could have forever, and like, or for today or for whatever. And it came from, the first one was when I was in grad school, and I had no car, and I'm living in Northern California, and you got to have a car. I mean, California is not like a NorCal and Davis. There's not a ton of public transit. So it just wasn't working to have no car. I had so little money at the time that I started to, at the time, pray, because that was the system I was working in, which is frankly just sometimes just another form of asking, because you can just say to the universe. At the time I was going like, please help me get a car, or however I was doing it then. But the point is, I started to say like, because I had no money, I had no attachment to actually getting a car, because I didn't actually think there was any practical way to get a car, because I had no money. So I was like, okay, universe, sure, bring me a car. Like, no attachment, because I choose to have a car now. But I was committed to having a car. But I was like, no attachment to the outcome, because I had no idea how it was going to occur.
Right.
Then I forgot about the ask. And like shortly thereafter, I was at tea with some lady friends. And one of the ladies next to me turned to me and said, like, I was chatting casually about, yeah, I'm looking for a car, and I don't know how that's going to happen. And lady just sort of weirdly turned to me, and she's like, it's funny. My kid just went to college. His car is sitting in our thing. I love all the I've seen you I was going to a lot of 12-step meetings at the time. And she's like, I see you at these 12-step meetings. And I really like what you have to say. Do you want to just have this car? Do you want to have it? And I was like, yeah. And then she gave me the car. And I gave her $1 for the title, because legally you have to have some money exchange or something. And a car. Then there was another time that car, years later, died, or was on the brink of death. And I started to ask again, like casually, in a non-believing it way, like, I wonder how I could get a new car. This car is a piece of shit. Not like the way I do it sometimes now, where I'm like, what's it going to take for this to show up? What energy, space, and consciousness can be on my body? Like, yeah, insane around it. Just casually, like, I wonder where a car could come from. Then, days later, forgot about it, wasn't even really thinking about it. My rich uncle, out of nowhere, is like hanging out and having tea with me, which we never did. And he looks out the window and he's like, man, that's a piece of shit you're driving. And I was like, it is. And he was like, how about we go get you a car? And I was like, huh? Like, we didn't hang out. I didn't know him very well. And right then, we went to a dealership and bought exactly the car I wanted, which I drove for 15 years.
What was the car you wanted?
I wanted a Honda Element, which is that big boxy, it was red and big and boxy.
Oh, yeah. Those were around 15 years ago?
Well, yeah. I mean, I was in grad school until 2005. So how many years? 10 years?
Yeah, 10, 12, or something like that. That's cool.
I exaggerate because I'm a theater lady. Sorry. A long time. 10 years is a long time. And he just gave it to me. So my point is that choosing to have it doesn't always look maybe how we would think it would look. Choosing doesn't have to be like a solid energy or a serious energy. It can be like, I'm going to have a car. I wonder how a car's going to show up. And it's just that light.
Yeah.
Things come, and what I get to bring it back to our class about this class and about what the workbook creates is the space to be that much space around choice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have an amazing example of that. When I first started doing Access, this was even before I had the money workbook, I just knew that these people asked a lot of questions. I didn't know anything else about Access, but I had heard the question, what would it take? And so I had this small notebook that my aunt had given me a long time ago. It was like one of those like little kid notebooks and was sitting around the house. And I picked it up and I started filling it out. And every day I would write the date and I would write, what would it take for blank to show up? And I was in university at the time and I had a crush on a boy. So I wrote, what would it take for this guy to date me? And then I wrote, and I'd never spoken to him. I just thought he was cute from across the hall, and I had heard his name before. So I wrote, what would it take for, I'll say his name. He might be watching this. What would it take for Jordan Zielinski to date me? And what would it take? What would it take for me to travel the world? What would it take for me to have this much money? What would it take? And then 2 years later, I found the book, and I like burst into tears because I was like, I have every single thing in this book. I have every single thing on any of all of these pages is my life. I'm like, I dated that guy. It was amazing. We were like totally in love. And then it ended. And like everything in the book I had. It was amazing. So it was. And it was that lightness of like, I'm just going to play with this today. What can I put on my Christmas wish list? And I just wrote and wrote until I filled up the book. I have the book here actually. And I bring it with me everywhere now because it's like amazing. And yeah, so it's like, but it was that lightness, and I put it in the drawer and I put it away and I didn't think about it. And that was my life 2 years later when I found the book.
And at the time, were you working a lot of other Access tools, or that was it?
That was it.
Yeah. And so how, it brings me back to like, how much easier can all of our financial worlds be just by allowing ourselves to have it be easy? In other words, like how much space can we be with our finances today, just this 24 hours and just this 10 minutes? And how lighthearted can we be? And I want to say this, and just in the interest of time, I want to, we should probably start to wrap up, but just for the sake of keeping our little half-hour plan, but is that another thing I've heard a lot from Gary is like, money follows joy. And I have had this contracted idea forever that I have to like go out and make things happen. And I more and more and more these days, like wake up, the to-do list for me still exists. I have one for the day. Cause sometimes I will literally I will just space out and be all infinite, whatever. And just.
Yeah, I still have one too.
Yeah. I got to
There's just too many things to do in the day. Yeah.
Exactly. So I have the to-do list, but what I'm choosing lately is like, what's fun for my body right now? And I like moving around a lot. So I'll go get in my car and like go get a coffee, or just go get in my car and almost go anywhere. Cause for me, going is really fun. Mm-hmm. And as I go, I find myself wanting to create. I build a class at the stoplight in my car on my phone. And I build a class, or I text you in line at Starbucks. Now that's for me, that's really fun to move around physically. And then I find myself like, I want to sit down and do the institution part of creation because
Yes. But yeah, if you sit down, I remember, oh my gosh, I had my 2 apartments ago, my mom, I had this office, and it was like the office, and I was going to work in the office, and my mom built me a desk for the office, and I avoided the office like the plague. It was like the doom dungeon of death. I did nothing in the office ever. I spent all my time avoiding it. So if I would have known at the time about going places like you speak of, Katie, I wouldn't have had the same problem I did.
And the point being, like, about doing what's fun for you actually creates everything. Like,
yes,
I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but I kind of think it does, where for those of us who are self-employed, I will have periods that are really expansive with money and then periods where it contracts. And And often my first reaction to the contraction is like, okay, get my shit together, sit at the desk, make a list. Here we go. We're going to figure this out. And
Totally.
and I'll like make the list. Then, now I'm not saying don't make the list, because I actually I get value out of the list. But what I used to do is like make the list and get serious and focus and then build a bunch of shit at home and be like this about it. But now I make the list and I get it and I'm like, okay, body, what do you want to do now? Get in my car and I drive around. Like, I'll give you an example. Yesterday was a great example. I think my good friend Adele King is on the call right now. And
I am.
Hi, Adele. Adele King, by the way, if you don't know, is one of the kindest human mammals that exists on this planet. And if you ever need to just feel like a person has your back and you happen to be friendish,
You go hang out with Adele King. I second that motion.
Oh, you guys are so sweet.
So I was in a training all day yesterday that was like kind of tight and contracted, and I decided at the end of it, like, I'm not going to do this thing I was training to do. I'm not doing it because it's all meh. And afterwards I had this list in my mind of the stuff for my actual like business and life that I actually care about that I wanted to complete for this day, which was yesterday. But Adele and I were like, let's go meet at the wine bar and sit and drink things and have a nice moment. And my brain was like, yeah, but you said you were going to get things done. And my being was like, you know what? I am going to get things done. And this is light right now. So we went and had fun times and girly bonding and all kinds of laughy. I don't know. I had a blast. I love this woman. And we had a great time. And then on the way home, I'm handling shit in the thing. I get home and in an hour's time, and I'm not saying this is how anyone should operate or whatever, and sometimes I leave things to the last moment, and that's a whole different conversation, but I got so much done in an hour that had I forced myself to sit in a cafe and be serious about it, would have taken me 4 hours. Whatever else is there for me, that like following what was light opened the space so that, yeah, at 9:30, I got it all handled quickly and with ease because I followed the lightness.
Exactly. That's exactly how it is. That is awesome. I just seen here that Paula raised her hand. Paula.
And we are FYI at 12:36. Just putting that out.
I guess we can just forget our limit. I was like, I make my hangouts go for hours and hours, and they're not supposed to go that long. Let's not go that long, Katie. And forget that. I'm over that.
Okay, good.
Have fun.
All right. Paula?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, first of all, love you all bunch. Just adore you. Amazing.
Thank you, Paula.
Yeah. And I have a question. So I started doing the money workbook like about December last year.
Yep.
But I actually read it, like the whole thing, only twice. I
Okay.
do the questions and clear whatever shows up. I did it with actually 3 different facilitators. And my question is it a must to like read it, the whole thing? Because for me, it's just,
Well, it's like if you have that resistance to it, it's not a must. There's no must. But if it brings up this wall in your world, you might want to ask, what like magic and possibility with money am I resisting?
Okay.
So, Paula, I have a question for you.
Sure.
You may know what it is, but what freedom and possibility with money are you resisting?
I thought it was something between those lines.
We're all psychic here. It's okay. I feel you.
Oh, it's something like it would be too much. I would be too much. There's this too much energy.
Right. So everything that is, will you destroy it and create it all?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, POC, shorts, boys and young. And that actually really goes to the energy of like, are you willing to be demanded? And that's that's a topic that I speak on a lot, because people decide that we all have this like sort of, a lot of people have this weird decision in their world that if you're totally demanded, it means you have, like, if it's too much, if you have too much, if you know, if you're going to have that much money, then you have to do something for it. And it's like, if you are that demanded, like think about Gary Douglas. It's like, he's very demanded. His phone is going off all the time. It's like, and you go to lunch with him, he's just like texting like all through lunch, but he's like totally involved in the conversation. Like my husband Anthony does ESB sessions on him in the evenings after class, and sometimes I go and I sit beside him on the bed or whatever while Anthony's doing the session, and he's like receiving the session and he's texting and he's like, he's creating, and he's also getting his ESB session. And it's like, he is so demanded, like the most demanded. I mean, more than it, like Donald Trump, or, well, that's not a good example, or anybody. Like, he is so demanded, but he's always available. He will always text you back. He will always be there. And it's like, but the thing is, we've decided that if we're that demanded, then we're at the effect of everybody else. That if somebody's texting us, we have to text them back. That if somebody requires something from you, then you have to do it. And so we stop all creation because we're not willing to be demanded. And what you have to realize is that if you had that much, if you were that demanded, you would be the one calling the shots. You get to choose in your life. You get to say when. You're not actually at the effect of everybody else. And it's like, but we have only this like micromanaged sense of control rather than the other control I was talking about. And if you're going to be truly demanded, or you're going to have a great life, you have to go from this micromanaged to this other control and be willing. It's like just the willingness, like Gary Douglas talks about communion. If you've ever taken the foundation class, there's this Petra, I will answer your question in a sec. If you've ever taken the foundation class, it's like he talks about how you have to be, it's like that. What communion is laying in the stream and letting all the little fish come and bite at your skin and feel you. That's communion. And like, for me, I've taken on 3 stepchildren. I'm 24 years old. My oldest stepson is 16 years old. We're like 8 years apart. And it's like, but they all require like everything of me. Like I was talking to Gary about it, and he's like, well, what do kids require of you? And I'm like, they require everything. And he's like, yes, they require everything. And when I took this on, he's like, if you take this on, this is like honestly the energetic equivalent of becoming the CEO of Coca-Cola. Like, you will never have another minute again. And I will never have another minute again. But it's like that same communion as laying in the stream and allowing the fish to like eat at me. And it's like, I'm always submerged. I'm always in it. But I know that I have choice, and I have to draw the lines where I want to draw the lines. Like when Anthony goes away, I used to stay here and take care of them by myself. And I had to draw the line. I had to be like, we have to have a nanny. Like, I'm not doing this on my own. So it's like, it's the willingness to be totally involved and to be into everything, but also to draw the lines where you want to draw the lines. See, most of you are trying to figure out where the lines are drawn so that you can properly go by where the line is drawn, rather than figuring out where you want to draw the line and drawing the line.
Right. And if I may, Julia, add something to that. Another thing I noticed is that it comes back to the thing of like being willing to have people judge you, and being willing to be a bitch when it's not really bitch, but it's what this reality would call bitch. And I'll give you an example. I teach this writing class online where you come and create a project in 6 weeks with my coaching and facilitation and all of that. And a lot of times students decide that because they're in my class and they paid me money to be there, they get to send me 5-paragraph long emails that I should respond to. Everybody has 55 things they want facilitation on and questions, and because we're in the class, now you get to kind of do that.
Yeah.
And I'm very clear with people. I say, Thanks so much for your question. Why don't you bring this to class on Tuesday? I don't take long-winded 5-paragraph questions between classes. I don't have the bandwidth for that. And at first, sometimes they go, oh, you know, because everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people have a reaction to boundaries, or you could say like drawing lines that's like, ah. And I'm willing for people to go, ah, because I know that just on the other side of that is if they stick through, they're going to get their question handled in class when I'm available for it. Because I get that I am a contribution to them when I'm ready. If I'm not ready and I'm rushing to because you want me to do a thing out of social obligation or whatever, you're not going to get what you want anyway, because I'm not going to be super present. I'd rather actually give you what I could really give you when I'm ready. But you're right, so many people are choosing for make the other person comfortable and do what that person wants. And that's a part of why people don't want to choose to be the CEO of their universe. Because God forbid other people feel uncomfortable for a second.
Exactly. I actually have a really great clearing for you guys. What energy, space, and consciousness can I be to make everyone I come in contact with totally uncomfortable for all eternity? It's a great clearing. It really, really does create a great effect, because we spend most of our existence becoming other people, thinking their thoughts, and trying to make them comfortable and heal them. And that doesn't work. It destroys you, and it destroys what you could be for other people as well. So does that help, Paula?
Yes, a lot. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. That was a very long answer to your question, but it does give. And I also have these things that I make available to people. They're actually just $20. I call them my $20 telecalls. And it's $20 for these really great topics. And I have 3 parts of Are You Willing to Be Demanded, part 1, 2, and 3. So they're really, really great resources.
They're amazing. They're so good. I listen to them over and over again, and every time, like, people come out of the woodworks and they're like, I want to work with you. And I'm like, oh, I love it. I didn't know there was a 3rd part, Julia. I need the 3rd part.
There is, yeah. Well, it's the advanced demanded. I'm not sure if you were on that. It was
on the first 2.
Okay, yeah. There's a part 3, and it was fabulous also. There were just these really pow calls, and it's like you listen to the call, thousands of like people want to do sessions with you and call you, because it just creates this energy in your world where it's like we spend so much of our time doing what Katie was just describing, and just trying to make people comfortable, trying to be small enough to fit in the world. And these calls, there's just something in them that just flips everything. So yeah, they're a really great resource to have. Awesome. Petrisa? Petra. Hello.
Yeah. It's a small version of my name.
Oh, okay.
Now, you two, Katie and Julia. I had one question, now I have 2. You made me do 2 questions.
Okay.
One is referring actually to Katie when you were saying about having fun and deciding to have fun all day and then doing the work in 1 hour. I have the same problem because the implants of our upbringing was you have to work so many hours and do this and this and this and then fun and all work. And sometimes when I go up the hills or just take a nap or something like that, a lot of the times I have a guilty conscience that I didn't do enough for my access classes or the bars treatments or, I don't know, massages, because I'm also a masseuse. And then I get this guilty conscience, and I don't know how to get out of. How long did it take for you, Julia or Katie, to get out of this? Rah!
I'm happy to speak about that briefly, Julia, if you're cool with that. Well, and I'd love to hear what Julia has to say as well. There's a couple things that come up for me in that. One is, for me, sometimes your classes are demanding things of you. In other words, your classes are saying to you, do this and call this person and make that thing. And those are real energies that do require our attention. Like, I was aware the whole time I was hanging with Adele, for example, of like 4 specific things that really, I would not go to bed feeling like I did my life today if I didn't complete them. So there's a way that I want to honor what my projects are demanding of me. So that is real. And we don't want to just be like, just have fun all the time and never, meh. It's like, no, you got to face your stuff and listen to what's being asked of you. And all the distractor implants of guilt and blame, shame, and regret that you're making real, that you've aligned and agreed with, creating guilt about how you're creating, will you destroy and uncreate them? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And for all of us, any of the distractor implants of blame, shame, regret, guilt, we've made real, aligned, and agreed with from this reality impelling them. Can we destroy and uncreate it all now? Times a godzillion, right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And so what I'll do in the moment is I will pot and pock any guilt that is up. And what I notice is that if I clear the guilt, suddenly I have clarity. If a thing actually needs to happen right now, while I'm at the wine bar with Adele, I will do it. No matter how Adele is going to feel about it. Because I know that Adele gets it, first of all. Secondly, if she didn't get it, that would be okay with me. So I'll do it right now. But it's not from the space of guilt, because I will have cleared the energy of guilt. And so now I'll do it from the space of, I'm actually desiring this result in my life, for my life to work. So I'll do it. And then whatever residual guilt, sometimes it isn't guilt. Sometimes it's awareness of what is required. So that energy of the awareness of what is required will lift and dissipate once I take the action that is being asked of me. Now, when I pot and pock the distractor implants of guilt, sometimes the thing on my mind reveals itself to not actually be required right now. Like I knew that stuff at 9:30 could get done at 9:30. It didn't need to happen now. But if it had, I would have said to her, hey, I need 15 minutes in my car to finish a couple things. Does that help?
Yeah. And Petra, I'm sure you're the only person in the world who ever has those feelings.
Yeah.
Probably just you.
I'm the only one. There's no one else around the world feeling like that.
There's not like 5.8 billion people doing it at the same time.
Not even in Europe, not even in Slovenia, not even in my town. Not even in the world. I bet you two didn't ever.
No. So it would be of no use to you to ask the question, who the fuck does this belong to?
Oh, damn.
But it is fun to keep thinking other people's thoughts. Because then we can be small and we can have friends and we can be normal and we can make regular amount of money every month.
Yeah, where's the fun of being normal, actually?
Yeah.
I tried to be normal for 5 minutes. It was the worst 5 minutes of my life.
Exactly. So how much are you actually trying to be normal by buying other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions as yours?
Still.
Yeah.
With all the years of access and being the facilitator and everything, I still do.
Okay, cool. So everything that is, will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Yep.
Cool. Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pock and pod, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Yeah. So it's just the willingness. I mean, and you have to have, Gary did a long time ago this call called the Friends Call, and it was about friends. And he basically said friendship is a total lie, and we destroy ourselves trying to find our people. And we destroy ourselves trying to find anybody even remotely like us. And every time you have a thought, and you don't go, oh, this isn't mine, I'm giving this back. You're doing it as an effort to fit in and to make sure that you find your place in this world. You have to create your place in this world. You're not going to find it. So everything you're doing to find your place in this world, will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pock and pod, shorts, boys, and beyonds.
And if I may, I noticed we do this with access people too. Like you'll be like, well, finally access people they get it and they're expansive and they're creating, they're my people. And then you're like, and then I can find myself cutting myself off to make access people comfortable. Or like I'll be zippier and more creative and more potent than some access people I'm around. And then I'll make myself wrong for that. And then I'll catch it and go, nope, I'm not even going to disempower myself for them.
Yes.
Whatever we've decided access people are, everything that is, let's destroy and uncreate it.
Yeah, anything, or sorry, go ahead.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds.
Yeah, it's like anything you decide is greater than you will ultimately be a destruction of you. So.
And the second question was, when you talked about your clients, Katie, mailing you and stuff, how did you get around that? Because sometimes it happens to me that I am that bitchy one when there's like right now 10 p.m. and someone is writing to me on Facebook, oh hey, I need a massage or a bars or something like that. When do you have some free time? And lesser than before, I say, oh, look, I don't know, I don't work anymore, contact me tomorrow from, 9 a.m. till 7 p.m. I will respond. But I still catch myself responding because I still catch that fear in me that if I will be that demanding bitch that demands her space and time, they will go away and find someone else, and I won't have the money and the income and blah blah blah. And Severina, I bet you are writing this down because tomorrow we will talk about it. My friend is also, and one of my first bars class participants is also here. Hey, so where did that shift come in for you? That you really are just that demanding bitch? This is my space. Don't invade my space. This is,
Well, I could say a few things about that. One for me is like, and this for me was actually pre-access, and I'm learning sort of new stuff about this now with the access tools. But one thing for me is I got really uncomfortable. I got pissed off, and I let that pissed off energy help me. Like, so in other words, it's like we make ourselves wrong all the time because some lady wants your attention. Now it's the same question, really. You're at the effect of her, you're aware of her thoughts, so how aware are you of her thoughts and her judgments and her projections, or other people's, maybe not even her, but it's like really letting ourselves own, this is not mine and I don't have to choose it. That's one piece. The other piece is like, like, whose idea is that we owe people things? Whose idea is that? And can we return it to sender? Like, we don't. That's your mom and your dad and everything that is times the gazillion. Destroy and uncreate it. Right, yeah. Wrong, interest was beyond. But the other thing is, I'm willing to lose people. I'm willing to lose them because my freedom and my me-ness is more important to me than anything else. Now, that being said, I also use my awareness for each individual situation to go like, what kind of me being me is going to benefit both of us here? Like, I'll give you an example. I have a couple, how do I say this? Like, students will demand things of me that I don't necessarily desire to give in the moment. But depending on the person, first of all, I ask, like, would it really be that hard for me to respond right now? Or am I just resisting? And then if it's light, I'll just do it. Now, if it's my stuff, I'll just clear it. But if it isn't, and I'm like, it's not the time. I look at the energy like of manipulation a little bit of like, certain people respond well if I just don't respond at all. Certain people respond better if I say like, yeah, I can't right now, I'll talk to you tomorrow. But everybody's different. And my spidey sense is pretty heightened, and I wonder how heightened yours is. And if you started to ask like, what response will allow me to be me and them to feel honored, what you might become aware of. Like, I had one student this week email me with 1,000 questions, and I've already said to her, like, I don't answer 1,000 questions. So I just didn't respond at all. Zero response. So she's coming to class and maybe was cranky about it for a minute that I didn't respond. But when she gets to class, I know I'm gonna give her what is required, but I'm just not gonna respond. Now, with a different person, not responding would not work. So I might send a quick
I gotta hop off here, guys, in a second. You can, if you want to finish that, Katie. I have the babysitters downstairs, so I have to get going. Do you want to just finish, or
Yeah, so
want
just
me
to
to
wrap that
like
up,
say goodbye and then you finish, or?
yeah, just to wrap that up, it's like, I wonder how much you could handle this, Petra, in a way that would work for both of you if you asked what would work here. And I mean, how much do you already just know what would work? And again, it brings us back to like everything we've been talking about, which is trusting what's light, trusting our awareness, asking questions, etc. Mic drop. Julia Sotas.
Yeah.
Boom.
No, sorry.
Thanks.
I'm just so grateful for this call and for your guys' questions, and like there's just so much possible with this workbook. It really does take you from this place of to actually having space around what you desire, what's possible, what can be created. And the book just does give you a guide to that. So I would just love to invite you guys. We're having a how many parts is it, Katie? Is it 6?
Part.
Yeah, we're having a 6-part series. And I don't know, I just can't say enough good things about this book. And I'm so grateful, Katie, for hosting this and for everything that you've put into this. It's going to be an amazing class. And it's only $175 for 6 classes. So I usually try to keep the money workbook things pretty reasonable. And then they get more as we go up. But
Yeah. And I mean, on that front, I get the awareness that like this class is worth, it should be, I mean, it could be $500, it could be $350, it could be, you know, there's so much in this. So I know that it's like, it's like we're all paying for a lot of things in our lives, but like we're going to get, how much are we going to get out of doing this together? How much? And what is 175? Not a lot is my point of view.
yeah.
So I'm excited to see what's possible for all of us.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I love you guys. And
Guys.
bye, Adele. And the recording of this hangout will be up hopefully tonight. And if not, the rule is 24 hours. So we'll get it sent out to you guys if you missed parts or if you had questions. And it's free to send it to friends or whatever. There's actually, this was a class in itself. There's tons of tools and things in here. And yeah, I'm just really excited to see you guys there. Hopefully you can come. And the link to sign up is becomemoney.weebly.com. I'll put it in the chat here. becomemoney.weebly.com. I think that the words got split up there, but anyways. All right, now I'm going to go talk to our new nanny who I have never met before.
Have fun.
Okay, bye guys.